about setting up Ubuntu in Hyper-V on your Windows 10 or 11 uh, machine, laptop, whatever you want to call it, whatever it is. Don't need to have much. We're going to use a quick create function in this video. And yeah, so this is how to create a Linux Ubuntu um, virtual machine in your Windows 10 or 11 workstation with Hyper-V. If you don't know how to add Hyper-V to your workstation, take a look at my videos. I have a video that walks you all the way through it. So we're gonna go into Hyper-V, right click on our host name here, and click create. All right. This is very similar to how we created the Windows 10 box in my other video. In this case, we're going to go ahead and install Ubuntu 22.04. All you have to do is select it and click Create Virtual Machine. So I'm doing that. I had pre-downloaded the image, so you didn't have to sit here and wait for that. So that part on your machine will take a few minutes just to download the image when you first do this for the first time. However, once you download the image, you don't have to download it again until the version changes. But yeah, this should go pretty quick. I'll show you what Linux looks like if some of you are not familiar with it. But there are times where, I need a Linux machine to whether it's to run Apache or whatever, there are lots of tools that are available in Linux that are not necessarily available or weren't necessarily available in Windows. A lot of that stuff is available now with the Linux subsystem in Windows. However, mostly I use Hyper-V on a desktop or a laptop is to test something out. So I wouldn't necessarily want to do any kind of testing or proofs of concept on my main machine, right? So in order to test things, it's probably always better to deploy a separate virtual machine like we're doing in this case, and then playing around with it, making changes, running scripts, whatever it may be, whatever task it may be that you don't necessarily know the outcome, whether it's going to work or it's going to cause an issue. This is great for this. Use a Windows VM, Windows Server VM, Ubuntu, Ubuntu Server VM. All this stuff is available to you, and it's part of Windows now, so you don't have to buy anything. And there's no need to download VirtualBox either. I mean, Hyper-V is part of your Windows operating system, and it works great. I'm a big fan. I accidentally clicked off screen there. So it's taking a little while, so gonna fast forward with magic of editing. So we'll be here in just a moment, and we'll be done in just a moment. And we're getting close to done. After this, we have the create virtual machine task. With Linux or Ubuntu, it does not take very long. But again, the main thing here is, the steps, right? Install Hyper-V or enable the Hyper-V role on your machine. I have a video covering that. And if, once you do that and you restart, you're ready to start creating VMs, so this quick create function is great. If you don't have the image or something like that, you don't have to have one. You don't have to download it. Hyper-V does it all for you. And as you saw here, the VM has been created, so doesn't take very long at all. Now we have a version of Linux on our machine that we can play around with. So let's do that. Press connect here. Opens up our VM window. So the VM is not currently running. We have to click on start or on this power button here to start the virtual machine. Let's do that. This is going to initiate the boot sequence for this virtual machine. There we go. The neat thing, and I talked about this in my last video, about virtualization. I mean, you could literally spin up a whole network in Hyper-V or some other hypervisor, but we're talking about Hyper-V here. In this environment, so you can have 10 workstations, 5 servers, whatever, a Linux server or two, and you can make a virtual network, which there is a flat virtual network by default, but you can create a virtual network with a DMZ and limit access to the internet for some VMs and stuff like that. You can replicate, an office, uh, fairly easily. Of course, you need some decent hardware to be able to do, 10 workstations, 5 servers. But a couple of workstations and a couple of servers usually is not a problem for anybody that can get to this point. And as you see, we're loading up to the desktop of Ubuntu 22.04. Our little wheel is still spinning, so we're still going through some configuration here, but we are getting very, very close to having Linux at our fingertips. I mean, I guess we already have it. We just can't use it yet. And the graphical interface, years ago, Unix, Linux. I mean, you still can use the CLI or control, um, or I'm sorry, command prompt type of terminal. Basically, text only interactions with your Linux server. The GUI, there are a bunch of GUI solutions for Linux that have been out there for a long time. Ubuntu has its own, and it actually works great. Ubuntu, like this, is something great to install on a really old laptop, because it will run on just about any hardware. And yeah. Anyway, so I selected my language, English, in the system configuration prompt here. And just like with Windows installation, I mean, asks us for our language. Um, we can test our keyboard. It works. I already press continue because we're selecting our keyboard layout now. We're in Chicago. I'm in Chicago, and that's just based on the network information that this VM obtained from my host that's running Hyper-V. Press continue. You can change this if for some reason that's wrong. And alright, my name is user. My computer's name is Jixer Ubuntu. And we're going to create a really simple password. Oh, it thinks there's a strong password, so I lied. Yeah, type it in twice and press continue. System. I cannot talk today. The system is installing, and shortly we'll be able to log in, and I can show you a couple brief things inside the actual operating system. And I'm glitching out a little bit with my webcam source. Something I was playing around with today. Let me know in the comments if you think this is stupid. I think it's kind of funky, and you guys can actually see me talking, but if you think it's distracting or something, do let me know. And any feedback is appreciated. So, also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Right? Um, I have quite a few videos out there already, and I'm trying to release, more. I have plans to do a bunch more tutorials. So, this one is kind of a quick and easy one, but a bunch of more advanced stuff coming soon. And while we're waiting, some of the stuff that I'm really proficient at is Azure, Azure Active Directory or Entra, Azure Virtualization, migrations to Azure Exchange, um, Azure Files, AVD, Azure Virtual Desktops, all that stuff. I'm also proficient in VMware, um, as well as Hyper-V. I do a lot with storage, with SANs, NAS's SANs, um, you know, whatever you can think of really, vSANs and VMware. And we're almost done here with the deployment of this virtual machine, but literally, if you can tell that very minimal inputs required from you to deploy this machine. Everything is kind of done for you. Now you can do all of this yourself. You can, instead of going to quick create, you can click new, customize your settings to whatever you need them to be. Um, Download the image that you're going to use to install the OS, the operating system, and set it up that way. But the quick create function is great because you don't have to do any of that. And I mainly use quick create for the Windows workstations. I want to spin one up and just try something crazy on it, I can do that within a few minutes. And if I screw it up, I just get rid of it. If I don't need it anymore, I just get rid of it because I can just create a new one next time. I do have all the images though, so um, I normally now, if I'm deploying something in Hyper-V for a client, I obviously would not use the quick create function because we would use a bunch of custom settings. We would use a specific image and so forth because the images in this case are not they're eval evaluation um, images, which installs an evaluation version of Windows. And you can still use that and convert it, update the key and activate it, but I don't think that's ideal. So if I was spinning this up at a client, I would start off with the new as opposed to quick create option, and then attach the image and modify my RAM requirements and the virtual CPU requirements. If it's a SQL server, and it's VMware, I'm going to add the paravirtual iSCSI, for the database disks. Actually, an adapter for each database disk and so forth. So all kinds of neat stuff. But if you don't need all that customization, or you're just trying to create a VM just to play around with, this is, I think I said it probably about 20 times between this video and the last one, but it is a great option. Very nice. I mean, it's very nice. You can start this and walk away. Go get lunch and come back and everything's done. All right, so our system is now restarting. It finished. What is it now? Like something. Okay. Yeah, that's all right. SSH. It restarted, and now we should be able to take advantage of our Ubuntu system. All right, so login. All right, we're at the login screen. Um, by default, I would just stick with this guy here. These are the different session interfaces that you can use. But so here, I called myself user, and then I created a password. So that's what I need to type in, and I press the enter key on my keyboard. Okay, and I think I added an extra character. All right, there we go. And we hurry up and wait. Cool. All right, so yeah, this is Ubuntu Desktop. Pretty neat, I think. We are connected to the internet already because this VM, just like the other VMs I've created in other videos, are already connected via virtual switch to the network interface on the host, which is the machine I'm recording this on, and actually running all of this on as well. So we literally could just go to Firefox, which is pre-installed in Ubuntu always, and start browsing the web. I mean, there's no configuration needed. I mean, if I don't know if you noticed, but all we had to configure was a username, password, a couple other things, but other than that, everything is turnkey. It's ready to go. Now it is running a little slow. I don't know what the virtual hardware was, set up with, because this is extremely slow. Um, but it's still, I can still interface or interact with it, and that's good enough for me for this demo anyway. But yeah, um, it's a full version of Ubuntu 22.04. It's the latest current version, I believe. So yeah, there's Firefox. It finally loaded. We can go to ESPN.com and take a look at the ESPN website and see what's going on. Um, Again, I think we probably need to increase the RAM and the virtual CPU settings for this VM because it's really chugging along. But if you don't care, you just want to play around with this and you don't mind if it's slow, you don't have to. But with that being said, our VM is working. Yeah, so pretty quick, video for today. But yeah, that's about it. So Our VM was running just fine. Let's take a look at the settings actually real quick, since I was talking about them. That way, you folks can take a look at that as well. And let's see what our default settings are for this virtual machine. So 2 gigs of RAM and 4 virtual procs, which is not bad. Not bad at all. But I'd be willing to bet if we increase this number to at least 4 gigs, we'd probably see a significant improvement. But I'm not going to do that now. Feel free to. You have to shut down the virtual machine before you can make changes here. You can make some of the changes, but like if you want to increase RAM, you cannot do that with the virtual machine running. Anyway, uh, like, subscribe, leave me comment, good or bad, complain, doesn't matter. Anything is welcome. Be nice, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.